In the heart of southern Africa, at the turn of the 19th century, a legend was born, a name that would echo through the ages, whispered with a mix of awe and fear. Shaka Zulu, often called the Napoleon of Africa. His story is a whirlwind of brutal ambition, military genius, and the forging of a mighty empire from a handful of scattered clans. But who was the man behind the myth? Let's dive into the epic tale of Shaka, the warrior king who forever changed the face of a continent. Our story begins around 1787. Shaka was born under a cloud of controversy, the illegitimate son of Senzangakona, the chief of a small clan called the Zulu. His mother, Nandi, and the young Shaka were cast out, forced to wander and endure humiliation. This harsh childhood, filled with rejection and hardship, didn't break him, it forged him. It lit a fire in his belly, a relentless drive to prove his worth and to never be powerless again. He grew into a formidable young man, tall, strong, and with a keen, observant mind. As a young warrior, Shaka found refuge and a mentor in Dingiswayo, the powerful chief of the Methua paramountcy. Warriors would stand at a distance, hurl their long, flimsy throwing spears, and exchange insults. It was often more about posturing than conquest. Shaka saw this as inefficient and weak. He thought, why throw your weapon away? This is where Shaka's military genius shines. This shield wasn't just for defense. It could be used to hook an opponent's shield aside, creating an opening for that fatal stab with the ikat. But new weapons were only part of the equation. Shaka's real masterstroke was his tactics and discipline. He drilled his warriors relentlessly. He forced them to march barefoot 4 miles over rough, thorny terrain to toughen their feet. He organized his army, or impai, into regiments based on age, creating a powerful sense of brotherhood and competition. And then came his most famous innovation, the buffalo horns formation, or the impai jesimput. Imagine this on the battlefield. The main force, the chest, would engage the enemy head-on, pinning them in place. Then, 2 flanking horns, composed of younger, faster warriors, would sweep around the sides, enveloping and crushing the enemy from all directions. A reserve force, the loins, would sit behind the lines, ready to plug any gaps or deliver the final blow. It was a simple, yet devastatingly effective strategy that was virtually unbeatable. With these new weapons and tactics, Shaka's regiments were a lethal, disciplined fighting machine unlike anything southern Africa had ever seen. When Shaka's father, Senzangakona, died in 1816, the moment he had been waiting for arrived. With the backing of Dingiswayo, Shaka returned to the Zulu clan, swiftly eliminated his half-brother, who had taken the throne and seized power for himself. He was no longer the outcast, he was the chief, and he had big plans. He began by absorbing neighboring clans, not just conquering them, but integrating them. Defeated warriors were given a choice: join the Zulu army and become part of the nation, or be annihilated. Most chose to join. Through this process of forced assimilation and brilliant military campaigns, the small Zulu clan rapidly expanded into the formidable Zulu kingdom. Shaka's reign was absolute and often brutal. Discipline was everything. The slightest infraction could be punished by death. He created a society completely mobilized for war. Every man was a soldier, every woman a supporter of the military machine. His rule brought stability and a unified identity to the region, but it came at a terrifying cost. This period of conquest and forced migration became known as the Mafeking, or the Crushing. It was a time of immense turmoil, as displaced tribes fled from the Zulu advance, creating a domino effect of conflict that rippled across southern Africa. Shaka built his capital, Bulawayo, meaning the place of he who kills. It was the nerve center of his expanding empire. From here, he commanded an army that grew to an estimated 40,000 warriors. He was at the absolute peak of his power, a king who had built an empire from nothing, feared and respected in equal measure. But even the most powerful rulers have their vulnerabilities. The turning point for Shaka came in 1827 with the death of his mother. Nandi, his grief was all-consuming, and it tipped him over the edge into tyranny. He plunged the entire kingdom into a period of forced mourning that bordered on madness. He ordered that no crops be planted for a year. No milk could be used. Any woman who became pregnant was to be executed along with her husband. Thousands of people who were deemed insufficiently mournful were killed. His own people began to suffer immensely, and his grip on power, once held firm by respect and fear, began to loosen. The cruelty was becoming unbearable. His half-brothers, Dingan and Malangana, saw their chance. They had watched his increasingly erratic and tyrannical behavior with growing alarm. They conspired with one of his most trusted servants, and in September 1828 they struck it. As Shaka sat in his royal kraal, they ambushed and assassinated him. The mighty warrior king, who had faced down entire armies, was brought down not on the battlefield, but by his own family. His final words are said to have been a prophecy to his brothers. "You think you will rule this land, but I see the swallows coming." A reference to the white settlers who were beginning to arrive in the region. Shaka Zulu's legacy is complex and fiercely debated. Was he a visionary nation builder who united a people and created a powerful, centralized state? Or was he a bloodthirsty tyrant whose conquests caused untold suffering and chaos? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in between. He was undoubtedly a military genius, a true innovator whose tactics are still studied today. He created a powerful Zulu identity that endures to this day. But his methods were undeniably brutal, and the Mafeking he unleashed had devastating consequences across southern Africa. He rose from an outcast to a king, built an empire with a revolutionary army, and left a legacy that is both celebrated and condemned. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic stories from history. See you next time.